is worthy of being the favourite for this last event of the day. Okay, runners are coming into the yard steadily now. We start with a roughie, number 2, Majorly, who was with Gerald Ryan and has made the move down to Chris Calthorpe here in Victoria.
Real staying type. His wins are generally up over 1,800 metres, even beyond 2,000 metres. So 1,400 metres a suitable kick-off point, but I think it's safe to say that today is a kicking-off point over the 1,400 metres here.
So 3 is scratched. Then we get to the favourite honour system. Have we got any more to add? Has the claim too, and a good barrier. So a few ticks today.
Jordan Grob able to take the 3 kilos off. Jackie Berriman being the pilot. The last 2 starts honour system's gone around for a win here, and that good run behind Felicienne, who went on to frank the form. So gets a lot in her favour, just on that fresh side. A month or so between runs, but some freshness back in her legs and just back that 100 metres. Probably not a bad scenario to just freshen her up since that run at Moonee Valley.
Yeah, well, she had 7 runs this prep before this little freshen up, so she might have just been looking for it a little bit. And they can do that too down on the beach, can't they?
Quite often they pull out a really good run when you have that little month between runs. You get a little bit of a spike performance, a bit of a peak fresh run, and then they can train off that little bit or even plateau out a little bit, but it can quite often produce that really good fresh performance.
5 Fine of Ada. First up today, and probably looking for further, it'd be fair to say, for Dan O'Sullivan and Luke Curry.
He got out over 22,000 metres or so and broke his maiden at Donald, and then went to Caulfield in a stronger race beyond Monterey. Actually ran okay on that occasion. You would, again, I think a bit like Majorly, the top weight in this race, that over 1,400 metres first up, this would be a kicking off point for Fine of Ada, who from that barrier would get right back off the speed.
I've caught up with the scratching of number 6, you'd be pleased to know. 7 is Kinmuku, $7 out to $7.50 here. Chris Parnham aboard for Wes Hunter. Had
some throat surgery and formerly trained by Mick Price, and that throat surgery can be no issue at all if it goes well, and certainly a recent jump out at Balnarring indicates that the horse has come back in good order and had a solid hit out at the end of that jump out to get him fit enough for this first up performance. No doubt the run had improved him, but he looks to be coming to hand well.
What about Laundered, number 8, who's had the benefit of a first up run and then another break again? It's been about 8 weeks between the first up run and today for Rick Harrison and Alan Crichton.
Obviously has some issues, a horse that's lightly raced for a 4-year-old and only had the 4 starts. And as you mentioned, not a bad run behind Felicienne, who then went on to perform well in better grade, and that's the horse that ties in the form line of the favourite here, Honour System. But the gap between runs has got to be some concern. The fact, I suppose, that it's at 1,400 metres is an indication that Rick's been able to continue to get the work into the horse, but 1,400 metres was that assignment first up, so maybe he's just not effective at any distance less than 1,400 metres now.
Proclamation is number 9, who's been $9 out to 10 for Greg Urell and Brad Rawilla.
One of a number of horses in this race that are genuine staying types, but they're on the fresh side, and 1,400 metres could well be short of Proclamation's best. We've only seen him first up on 2 occasions, but in general, he takes a run and he needs to get out over ground. So he's not a real fresh horse, but he's certainly got as much talent or upside as most in this race. It's just the distance is the query.
Buzz Punch is number 10, Ibrahim Gundadu with the ride for Darryl Brown.
Would be fitter for that one run at Stawell recently off a couple of month break. The tongue tie goes on today, but really only just was modest behind See What I Bring over the 1,300 metres and only goes up 100 metres here. You'd think another run and maybe up further in distance might be what Buzz Punch is looking for.
Yeah, $19 chance today. Figlio, number 11's a stablemate to Laundered, who draws an inside gate, gets the claim. $8 out to 9.
Good performance first up behind Gin Lizzie at Terang recently. Gets fitter for that run, gets up in distance, gets the claim for Jack Martin. I think if Gin Lizzie was going around here, she'd certainly be one of the leading contenders.
London Fog, number 12, is first up off a break. Jamie Edwards, Daniel Moore.
Another one of the contenders here that's a stayer using a 1,400 metre kick-off point and generally takes a run or two to find his best. So you would think London Fog would get off the speed. The visor comes off today. He did race consistently and eventually got a victory at his last preparation, but it took him 12 starts to do it. You'd think that 1,400 metres on the fresh side, there'd be a few too sharp for him here.
13's out. 14 Redoutes Princess, first up.
First up and trialled quite well. We had a look at that trial recently. She was under her own steam and down the outside of the track without really being pushed out. She's had 3 first up runs and she's yet to place either first up or second up. So in general, she takes a run or two. She looks to be coming to hand nicely. You just think that, again, she'd probably benefit with that run under her belt in this distance range.
The locally trained mare Bonify, number 15 for Heath Connors and Ryan Maloney.
Good run first up over 1,100 metres at Kilmore behind a horse that's been gelded and looks to have come back well in Emperor Maximilian. That should be a solid performance in in reference to this race. Gets a nice barrier draw, fitter and up in distance, all pluses.
16 Electra Lass for Byron Cosmanis and Craig Robertson.
Fits into the category of horses that are going to get over more ground, and she did towards the end of her last preparation, but she has performed okay on the fresh side before, and I did like a recent jump out at Caulfield.
17 Our Miracle for Merv McKenzie and Jason Benbow.
Solid behind Rose of Texas on a relatively quick backup here, but that was a good performance at Warrnambool behind Rose of Texas last week, and could only be improved by that run or in the 1400 metre distance range. And the fact that Merv McKenzie's backed Our Miracle up is an indication that he's had a good week since that run.
18 Strength of Spirit, around a 20 to 1 chance for Vin Malady and Chris Simons.
On the fresh side and back in distance, and from that barrier draw, you'd think Strength of Spirit would get back a little bit and balance up and find the line, but he should retain good residual fitness from that run.
And Munjiz is the stablemate of Strength of Spirit. They're both emergencies who have gained a run, but he's a roughie here at 50 to 1 for Dean Holland.
He's on the fresh side. He's not quite resuming. There hasn't been a long enough break for that, but he hasn't shown enough to really be effective over this distance range. You got the slight gear change with the tongue tie coming off, but you'd think again he'd probably find a few of these a bit sharp.
All right, so they're heading off to the gates. The bottom one there, number 20, was a late scratching earlier today. Tips in a moment, but firstly, let's get the latest market update.